Welcome to our next episode of the Power Hour. DJ Larry and myself, Tifanny Gaston, are eager to bring you a topic in demand, and that is depression.
If you're watching this with your friends, you'll probably make a joke.
Because you know what you feel on the inside
isn't what you want people to know.
If you have to pretend to be happy,
find someone you trust and tell them.
If you get mad at things and you don't know why, or have thoughts about hurting yourself,
find someone you trust and tell them.
You are never alone when you share.
Seriously, people care about you.
It's okay to not understand what you're feeling.
And it's easy to think that you're all alone.
But you don't have to be.
You're never alone when you share.
Don't be ashamed to tell someone you trust what you're feeling.
You're not alone.
You are not alone.
Find someone you trust and tell them.
Tell a parent.
Tell a teacher. Tell a brother or sister.
Or just tell a friend.
You haven't done anything wrong.
Talk to someone.
Talk to someone.
It's how things get better.
Yeah, depression is very, very serious. A lot of people are going through it.
Yeah.
Dealing with certain things, and sometimes they don't know what it is. Some people don't know what it is. They just know that they feel a certain way.
Very challenging time mental health wise. And I think since the pandemic, and I think we need to share some statistics with our listeners, but I know just in some of my research, I've come to understand just how tremendously the growth in consumption of alcohol use and abuse was through the pandemic. I don't know if I'm correct in this, but something like up 66%.
Yeah, I believe
that's
so.
atrocious. And I know alcohol is a depressant.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. How do you know when you're depressed?
Oh boy. I can speak to it personally, and I can only say that I remember going through different times in my life where I just felt off, and circumstances surrounding that made sense that depression could be what was lurking. But until I really took a good look under the hood at what was going on, a lot of us will utilize substance to try to just numb it away, wash it away,
Right.
I think that's why for so many people that find themselves in addiction, may or may not be the popular vote, but I don't call necessarily addiction. I don't call it disease. I don't necessarily agree that label fits everyone. I think sometimes we use things to self-soothe, and I don't think that makes us bad. I think it makes us catering to something we feel internally that we just don't know how to shut off. And we're obviously going about it all wrong. But have you heard of Dr. Gabor Mate? He does a lot of work in the mental health space, and
Yes.
he speaks a lot about trauma. This man's mindset is so eloquent when it comes to discussing mental health. We're not bad. We're not wrong. We're not broken. We've got different traumas under the hood that we're dealing with. And trauma is not something that happened to you per se. It's something that you've experienced and your brain took a snapshot.
Yeah.
Now, depending on how old you are at that point in your life, you may or may not have the capacity or a formula for what you're observing and what to do with it. And a lot of times that's how trauma gets stuck. And that's called PTSD.
I can't breathe. I have migraines, numbness, weight loss. I live with it every day. The illness that I'm suffering from is an anxiety disorder, and it deserves to be treated like any other illness. But it's not.
The mind is a powerful source, and what you feed it is so tremendously important. Like, the words that we say, the thoughts that run through our mind, it's hard to not think negative thoughts. It's very normal to have different thoughts throughout the day, but it's, I've spoken about before, just self-awareness and being able to catch those thoughts and potentially shape shift them live, because whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And that's something I've carried with me a lot through life. I think outside of seeking help finding a therapist, being very self-aware, journaling to dump your thoughts on paper, whether they go beyond that or not. And be it if you don't have a therapist, if you have a friend or family member, we all need a place to put stuff.
Depression, and anxiety, and also just, feeling like I'm not good enough, feeling like people aren't going to accept me for, what I am.
Sadness, stress, depression, anger.
Being anxious, anxiety, fear, anger, and frustration.
Anxiety and embarrassment are the top of the list of very intense emotions that I deal with.
Well, I had anger and heartbreak were the main ones.
Being insecure about myself, like the way I look and like my body size.
Like I usually just like keep to myself, kind of. I'm not really like joking around or anything like that.
I feel sick to my stomach and as if nothing can go right.
I feel like just like alone, and I feel like nobody can understand what I'm going through. It just kind of feels like I'm like this twig, that's a walking twig that just goes anywhere and everywhere.
It's just like emptiness, like a gap, like kind of just like is gone away from my body or so.
You just want to scream, and it's like your life is all one big puzzle.
I get shaky and my stomach gets sick and my mind is jumping to the worst case scenarios and it's all over the place, jumping to conclusions.
My mind kind of like clamps together in a way, and I can't like pick out each and every thought that I can because it just swirls around and I can't like grab it and try to work through it.
My heart is racing. I can't speak really clearly. I'm like kind of sweaty and just kind of not looking too great.
I like just get really paranoid and don't know what to do.
Sometimes it's like I get like this knot in my throat because I know that what I'm feeling, I can't express it or you can't say it.
I want to punch everything around me. Like I want to punch a wall, a bed, and
when I take pictures of myself, I kind of use a black and white filter to tell me that everything will look the same and nothing will change.
Take some deep breaths and listen to music, and talking to someone about it usually helps.
I listen to music, often music that either has to do with the things that I'm feeling or music that will make me feel the opposite of what I'm feeling. And I tell myself that whatever I'm feeling or going through, it's all going to get better and that it will end eventually.
I try to just think positive, have positive thoughts, and say I can get through it. Or I just try to just breathe and just relax.
I usually like write a poem, or like I'll try to figure out some kind of jazz chords to play on my piano to like mellow my mood a little bit. So
there's a chemical imbalance, there's something going on internally. It can very much be broken through, but you have to understand what you're dealing with. So I think depression has layers, and I think when we find ourselves becoming so living within that victim mentality, we take ourselves deeper, and it can become like sometimes we satiate that feeling and we pour deeper into it. Like if we're feeling low and we listen to music that takes us lower. But one thing I know is so transcendent, no matter what language you speak, is music. I think it can be such a powerful driver. And just sometimes you've got to take yourself into that emotion to fully release it and move through it. There's nothing wrong with that. And I know it makes you feel weak. It made me feel so weak.
If you're just tuning in, we're talking about anxiety and depression. Now, when you say music, keep in mind, be very careful the type of music you listen to, because music can have a serious effect on your mental state. You know, if you're in this dark place and you go listening to some dark music with dark lyrics, that can take you deeper.
Yes. I don't think many of us have actually truly listened to some of the lyrics of the songs that we're jamming along in our car to, and how satanic some of that nonsense is, and just how much of it is programming. And it's by design. There's a formula. It's catchy, and we be bopping down the street and don't even realize what kind of spells we're casting. So
exactly,
very intentional, and it's very much by design. No, you're absolutely right.
I'm a conqueror of depression.
Music is very powerful, and it's a great coping mechanism.
And I know you can relate. Yeah,
you can get out of that mental health crisis. I did not tell my parents I was suicidal and I wanted to not be here since I was 8. Imagine that 10 years of me not saying anything.
My name is Christopher Stevenson. I was born and raised in Dallas. These are my parents right here, Christopher Stevenson Sr., Raquel Stevenson.
Music can help everybody that deals with some sort of mental health, big or small.
I think music is an excellent choice as a coping mechanism. That's why I'm a music therapist. I'm Daniel Tagg. I am chair and assistant professor of music therapy at Southern Methodist University. We have been doing some research studies in conjunction with my students. We wrote a piece of music using slower beats per minute, melody that's not going up and down too much, not too much instrumentation. If you are paying attention to some of those qualities of the music, you can successfully use those things to help yourself relax. We wanted to test and see whether or not it actually helped them reduce their anxiety and help them with stress. It's pretty powerful to think just doing a very short 10 seconds of some guided breathing and listening to 5 minutes of music in a quiet place can dramatically reduce your anxiety. I mean, this could be very useful for everybody, not just college students.
Some of us that are walking the most wounded look so armored up, looks so guarded, looks badass, looks so hard and tough, and we're not.
And you're coming apart like a cheap suit on the inside, right?
Just melting inside. just want to understand what it is, and to finally feel understood within yourself is the most beautiful gift. So I hope people will chase that. I feel for people. We're in a really difficult time.
Yeah.
It makes me emotional because I know so many incredible people that have so much love to give. And there are so many walking wounded and so many hurt people and so many people that don't understand how to express themselves the right way. And I only really get it now, because I only really get it now. And if we could lead from a place of love and understanding and compassion and support for one another, we could really shape shift things more quickly than I think anyone realizes we have the power to.
All right, you're watching the Power Hour. I'm your host, DJ Larry Jones, along with Tifanny Lee Gaston.
Thanks for joining us.
All right, you're watching the Power Hour. I'm your host, DJ Larry. Power Hour. And
myself. And then you start to...
I found out about my husband's infidelity.
Ryan, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on there, DJ Larry.
Are aliens real?
Hey, I can't say they're not.
Life is bigger than going to work, paying bills, and repeating the cycle. I mean, it's some more to it. More to it.
Catch an all-new Power Hour with DJ Larry Jones at 8:30 p.m. EST on Soul TV.